2 Corinthians 4:10, Paul says that we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our mortal body. Now, Paul was a guy who had his eyes set on the resurrection and the restoration of the physical body. He was talking about in Romans 8 how even creation awaits the redemption of God's people, the resurrection of the body he talks about. Paul was caught up into heaven in a vision so vivid he wasn't so sure it was a vision. He says, in the body or out of the body, I do not know. He says it twice in 2 Corinthians 12. He was caught up and saw things that he could not even speak of. Like Moses in Exodus 33, when he asked God to see God's glory, and in Exodus 34, God shows him his glory, and Moses' face shines. There's no words that Moses describes God's glory with. Rather, just everything about Moses that had seen the glory of God reflected off him. Paul had no words for what he had seen, but it was so intense that God, to keep him from becoming conceited about this vision and experience, he sent a demon to torment Paul. Read 2 Corinthians 12. Very mysterious and very deep, very freeing in many ways. But I think of this, 2 Corinthians 4:10. Paul says, we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our mortal body. Paul wanted to know the resurrection power of Christ, so much so that he was willing and wanted to know every aspect of Christ's life, including being with him. He says in Philippians 3:10, I want to know Christ in the power of his resurrection and in the fellowship of sharing in his suffering. And he goes on, becoming like him in his death. The death of Jesus was gruesome. Paul, though, was so committed. I think of Psalm 63:3 says, your love, O Lord, is better than life. Paul was a lover of God, and this honors God and Jesus. This is to know eternal life, John 17:3. And Jesus admonished us. He said, this is the most important command. Matthew 22:36-40, quoting Deuteronomy 6:4-5, says to love the Lord your God, not just to love him, but to love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Now that is an intense pursuit. That is an intense relationship. And Paul was after God, and he wanted to know him in his resurrection, and he wanted to know him in his death, and he wanted to resurrect like Jesus did, and see the redemption and the resurrection of his body after he died, and he was willing to know the suffering of Christ in this world so that he would know the resurrection of Christ after this world. Paul wanted everything that was Christ, and this honors God. So here we have in 2 Corinthians 4:10, we have Paul bringing into not just our life and our spirit and our emotions, but into our body. He says we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus. Is there a weakness and a strain and a struggle in your own life that is in your own body, almost like this far and no further? God, I can't take it anymore. Proverbs 30, the wise sayings of a Gur, he's like, God, I am weary. Ezekiel in 1 Kings 19:4, God, I can't take it anymore. People just fell to their knees, and in those places they carried the death of Christ in their body, just like Jesus on his knees in Gethsemane. He couldn't take it anymore. He cried out to God and said, God, take this cup from me. And is there something in your life that is God, take this from me? And you can't understand where God is. Why isn't he taking this from me? It's actually in your body. It's through you. Christ is there. Christ is there. Call on God by all means. Paul did in 2 Corinthians 12. Called on God, take this thorn from me. But God said, Paul, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in this weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. There could be something in your pursuit and your love of God that is bringing you into this place where you just can know more. And you're like this passage in 2 Corinthians 4:7-10, saying like, I see God, the light of God, but I am undone. And I see this treasure, but I'm so brittle. Paul says it's in a jar of clay. He says we're hard pressed on every side. Are you? But you're not crushed. He says we're perplexed. Are you? I am. But we're not in despair. He says we're persecuted, but we're not actually abandoned. We are struck down, and Paul was struck down all the time, but we're not destroyed. And then he says we always carry around in our body the death of Jesus. You might have scars. That could be a sweet place right there where you bleed, where Jesus bleeds. You might have an opportunity right in there to fellowship with God in his sufferings, with Jesus. Philippians 3:10, and by all means cry on God to take this from you, but if he doesn't take it from you and you stand there, he will weep with you, Romans 12:15. He will intercede for you, Romans 8:26. Christ suffered alone, and you can fellowship with him. So by all means, call out for the salvation as Jesus did in Gethsemane, as Paul did, as Ezekiel did. They all call, we cry to God. But in this world, John 16:33, Jesus said, you will have trouble, but take heart. So he's coming into us, and he's not stoically saying, God willed this trouble. No, it's deeper, it's beyond us. Psalm 42:7, deep cries to deep, but Jesus is in suffering. He's with you. God bless you.